everybody, Z Garcia here, and today I'm going to be covering, very briefly, a bunch of the extra stuff that came out for Marvel Zombies, a Zombicide game. This is many of the things outside of the core box, or boxes, there were really two, X-Men Resistance and the basic Marvel Zombies box, and then the catch-all stretch goals box. I'm also not covering that. It's just chock full of miniatures and extra characters galore. So what I'm covering here, again, very briefly, and I'll throw up a score down across the bottom of the screen as well as I discuss my thoughts on these boxes. I'm going to be talking about Fantastic Four box over here, Under Siege. I am looking at the one with the Sinister 6 in it, Clash of the Sinister 6, and a game mode that comes in here. Hydra Resurrection, as we got right here. I'm taking a look at the Sentinel Strike. This one comes with 3 big Sentinels, and some of these, by the way, are or were Kickstarter exclusives, but I'm throwing it all in, just so you see what I think of it. And then the Guardians of the Galaxy set here, which is a little bit smaller. There's 2 I'm specifically not talking about, okay? That's going to be this one right here, the Artist's Special Edition set, because it's just 6 extra characters that feature, that are sort of a celebration of this artist's work in comics, okay? It's just 6 more characters. Don't need to talk about that. And then Galactus the Devourer over here because, well, I haven't played it. And it's the one that utilizes that enormous child-sized statue. And I have not played that, so I can't really comment on that, so I'm not going to be covering that either. But there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and dive down and take a look at some of these extra goodies. Hydra Resurrection is a pretty standard box. It gives you, of course, missions for both sides, but it also has 4 special missions for Red Skull. And Red Skull sort of behaves differently than many other characters. You can just throw them into the game normally, but he's going to come with these Red Skull actions, and while he's in play, then at the end of every enemy phase, you're going to spawn 2 Hydra soldiers in a zone, and then you're also flipping over these cards at the beginning of rounds and activating them. So it'll remind you here on the back that the Hydra soldiers and Red Skull himself, they can attack from one zone away, and you are drawing these Red Skull actions and activating them, and they'll do things like spawn more Hydra soldiers, have them attack you, have them activate, that sort of thing. So there you go, there is that. There's also these explosive canisters over here that are going to be something you can toss and then shoot at and explode it. And the Hydra soldiers themselves, seen right here, which are going to be shuffled into the spawn deck, and you can use them. They're always zombies. It doesn't matter if you're playing zombie mode or hero mode. The idea is Red Skull has such a grasp over them that they're attacking whoever. So they don't really care. But they're cool. They can attack from one away, and I like that idea very much. Sort of makes me think of the Dead Eyes from, the guys who could shoot from far away in some of the previous zombie games. So that's the idea there. So simple. This is a fairly simple idea here. Most of the expansion then really is pretty standard, giving you more characters that you know and love, and giving you this sort of little twist with the Red Skull and his missions in the box. In Clash of the Sinister 6, you are getting some fantastic characters, and in my opinion, some of the best minis in the game as well. As you can see here, you've got some amazing looking stuff with this Mysterio. Let me see, there you go, Mysterio, he's riding on a hand. You've got this one over here is a Venom, and you can see he's sort of screaming, and you can see Eddie Brock is his name right under there, look at that. So again, some really intense looking stuff, but the main twist, the main gimmick, besides obviously being able to use this in the normal game modes, is this new team versus team mode, which the best way I can put it is, it's basically like Rum and Bones, okay, which is from the same designer as Marvel Zombies. In Rum and Bones, you have 2 sides. It's a MOBA style game with you moving your main heroic figures and then having other sort of peons move along predetermined lines, trying to make it to the other side. So this one does the same thing with its team versus team mode. You have these cards which you're trying to complete and get victory points, and you're trying to raise to a certain number of victory points. So you've got missions that let you set up. You have one team on this side, the other team on this side. Some, like I said, locations that begin with these minions, and they're trying to just walk across the map. So they're predetermined. You do not get to control them. And you're trying to take out the other team or complete your objectives, try to get your victory points. And I will say right now, I think this is one of the strangest things that they made for Marvel Zombies. It's very outside of the box. It's such a different mode of play that I can't really tell. If I couldn't tell you, oh, you like Marvel Zombies, you're going to like this. The closest comparison, like I said already, is Rum and Bones. If you like Rum and Bones, you might like this. But I'm not a big fan of it, and I like Rum and Bones. I just found this mode to be so different from Marvel Zombies that if I want to play this, I just go play Rum and Bones. Now, if I really, really wanted to play this with superheroes, then yes, I just suck it up. I go through all the rules changes. I deal with the fact that I'm really not even playing Marvel Zombies anymore, and then I go ahead and enjoy this mode. But I was not a huge fan of this box. Now, again, I recommend it because of the characters. The characters are fantastic. But the main twist, which most of these boxes have a main twist, is this team versus team. And I'm not really a big fan of that. I think it's too different. It's too much of its own thing from the base game. It's not a little twist on top of that. It is a different game. And I personally found it to be too much of, too many rules differences and too much overhead to sort of bother with it once the gimmick has worn off, especially if you, like I said, know the other games. But there you go. That's what it is. One side playing zombies, one side playing the living team, going at each other in this MOBA-style game, trying to get the most victory points. Really distinct, its own thing. But, man, these characters are sweet. So there you go. This is one of my least favorite boxes, I would say. And unless you're a completionist or just you want some of these cool Sinister 6 characters, then I don't know if I would recommend this one. Fantastic Four Under Siege, I would say, is the simplest of the big box expansions. You are going to get the Fantastic Four, you're getting Doctor Doom, you're getting some scrolls, all of this stuff. But it's basically like the base game. So really the main reason to get this is to have a few more missions and to have the Fantastic Four. You're a huge Doctor Doom fan, what have you. The only thing I can think of as a twist on the formula is this simple little tile right here, which is an elevator. And the idea is you can, in many of these scenarios, take the elevator to go from one floor of the Baxter building to another floor. So you hop in here and you take the elevator, and they explain at the back, obviously in the book, and then also on the back over here, they're like, the elevator, you can, as a free action, do that. Move the elevator, mess with it. So that's pretty much it. That's the basic idea. A few more missions, which is always appreciated, and then, of course, access to one of the most famous families from Marvel. But if you are not interested in the Fantastic Four, I don't really think you're going to get this for any other game mode that it might bring to play to the table. And if you are a Fantastic Four fan, then it doesn't matter that there's nothing new. You're going to want to get this so you can have these characters that you are a fan of. The elevator thing is fine. It's neither here nor there. So there you go, one of the simplest boxes. It's really just a very basic extension of what the base games have in them with the Fantastic Four flavor on top. The Sentinel Strike box has very few components in it, but it also has some of the most striking components in the game, and that's because it comes with 3 very large Sentinel figures, as well as, Professor X up there in his zombie mode and hero mode. So you do get both in this box, just like you do in all the other boxes. If it has content for one side, it will have content for the other one, right? But these guys are the stars of the show. These very large figures have a few ways in which you can incorporate them into the game. So the main way you can throw them in, there's missions in here that will use them, and they'll have their own ways in which they behave. Or you can just throw them into the game. You can do that by having their spawn card shuffled into the deck. They have a single spawn card, one for each game mode. And you would bring out 1 or 2 or 3 of these guys, you are going to spawn a single one of these per spawn zone, and then if you would spawn, say, 2, then you put another one in the second spawn zone. And then Sentinel A, for example, would be right there. You'd shuffle this up, this combat protocol, and give him 1. And this is how he's going to behave above and beyond his basic behavior, which is 2 actions, can attack from 1 zone away. You can only target them exclusively, can mix that up, okay? Also, you are going to, at the start of every enemy phase, you roll a die for each Sentinel, and if you roll a 5 or higher, you switch out their combat protocol, and suddenly he behaves differently. So these guys are walking around trying to stomp you, okay? That's the main thing, and it's a really cool mode if you want to kick up the difficulty, if you want that nice big surprise of, oh my goodness, we have to deal with Sentinels now. There's also Professor X, like I said, and then there's also, you can use one of these Sentinels as Nana, which is a reprogrammed Sentinel, basically set to protect, and you can do that with, you got Professor X here, the zombie and the other one, and then Nana right there. You can choose to play as one of these, which is a nice little bonus, very powerful. You can choose to do that. So there you go. That's the main twist in this, the big 3 here, and incorporating them into, just whatever else you're doing. You can say, okay, you know what? We're throwing in the Sentinel card, and we'll see what happens when they show up, if they show up. Very neat. Very nice twist to the game. Certainly not something that is necessary, but it is a nice splash of flavor and a nice way to mix up the whole thing. So I like this box. I like the way that this is handled with their protocol switching, their little cards here denoting, you can have, there's A and B and C, and you give them each one of these, doing that kind of thing. So it's really cool. I like the way that it handles that. But that's really why you get this box. It's for the splashiness of these giant robots across your game board wreaking havoc on you. I like this one. It's fun. The Guardians of the Galaxy set doesn't come with any missions. In fact, the leaflet here is really just a 2-page thing, and it shows you the fold-out. But the main thing here is Thanos and what Thanos is going to do. So there's a few ways in which you can play with him, and you'll see in here that we've got a special color for Thanos. We've got the zombie side and the hero side, just like all the other ones that they have, both sides. And then even a little Howard the Duck action going on down there. So there you go as a bystander. So Thanos, though, can be used in a few different ways in the game. So you can have him as a character. And if so, they even mention in the back of the rulebook, hey, he is very powerful. Like, be aware, he's going to crush it. Read his card carefully. He is extra beefy. So if you want to have a really easy time, or you just feel like you keep getting beat, then maybe Thanos is the way to go. Grab him, play as the Mad Titan himself. The other thing you can do is just throw him into the game, and he is going to come in with a number of Infinity Stones based on when he spawns. So if it's early in the game, you're still in the blue section, he comes in with 1. So you'd shuffle these up. He comes in with 1, and it's going to do something, right? It'll tell you what the Soul Stone does for the game. But he's going to gain additional Infinity Stones at the start of each enemy phase. And if he has all 6, then the game is over and you have lost. So he's incredibly powerful. That right there should let you know that he is incredibly powerful. But also, he keeps gathering these. And when he has them all, you're done. So the idea then is, do you want a really easy game, or do you want a really hard game? And that's kind of what Thanos is about. He is going to show you the extremes of the game. He's going to make it very challenging, and if and when he shows up, you're going to be on a serious crunch. It might be a short game, or you can play as him and feel really strong and powerful. You have, of course, then all of the Guardians of the Galaxy that are going to give you some nice flavor, and you can play as all of these people. You can be, you got Nova in there as well. So, all the ones you might be familiar with on both sides of the spectrum there. So there you go. This is a small one, no missions or anything, no, none of that kind of content, but you do have a nice amount of characters in it, and then this Thanos mode, basically, that lets you push the extremes of difficulty in one way or the other. I like this one. It's not something I'm going to throw in all the time, but it's pretty fun to have to beat down Thanos or get to be him. So this is one that I would recommend. So there we go, folks. That is a bunch of the extra stuff you can get for Marvel Zombies. Speaking as I did about the different modules that come in these, if you really end up not even caring about that, you can still pick these up, and they have a bunch of extra figures in them. Especially the Guardians of the Galaxy set here, which is smaller than the other ones, has a whole bunch of characters. You can just get this, not worry about extra things like the Thanos in this one, or the, team versus team mode, and just have extra characters you can throw into your game, keep playing the way you've been playing, the same missions you've been playing. This is a very good one for that. And then the one that isn't so good for that would be the Sentinel Strike. But this is actually, it's one of my favorites because, you're not getting extra characters except for Professor X. You get both versions of him. You do get the Sentinels, and that's a really cool mode. So this one's really good if you want to change the flavor, not just throw more things in it that are the same kind of thing, but give you variety. So there you go. I think for me then, my favorite mode would be, or my favorite thing, a little piece out of all of these, is getting the Hydra soldiers, because they can shoot from far away. And I like the way that functions. You just shuffle in their little cards, you got them in the game set aside, and when they spawn, you throw them in, and you suddenly, boom, you have a new zombie type that you have to deal with. But overall, lots of goodies, as you saw. Hopefully this helps you understand what's in each of these, have an idea of which box you might want to pick up, or just the modes that come in them, okay? So there you go. That is all of that. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching, folks. My name is Z Garcia. I'll catch you on the next one.